Introduction. In this video we sling to the Gooderson Kloppenheim Country Estate with our friends Deon and Mari with their Cherokee 235 for a weekend breakaway. We do reviews of the lodge and provide some general aviation tidbits. Planning. Destination. Kloppenheim has been on our bucket list for quite some time. The dirt road into the estate seemed quite bad every time we passed there before, and we never visited. Accommodation and local travel. We booked our normal accommodation with double bed and en-suite shower about 2 weeks in advance. The lodge staff would come and fetch us at the runway to take us to our accommodation. Landing strip. When we initially inquired about the booking, the runway was badly overgrown due to the COVID lockdowns. Discussions were held with the general manager, Stuart Dunbar. He then really went out of his way to get the runway back into operational condition for our arrival, less than 2 weeks later. We thank him sincerely for all his effort. Due to the runway not being very discernible from Google, we had to cross-check the easy cockpit position with Stuart. The easy cockpit position was correct as usual. He used white stones to make it more discernible from the air. There was no windsock yet. The forecasted wind played along nicely, and both pilots decided it was not that essential for our landing there. We offered to supply Stuart with a windsock, and he accepted our quotation. Route. The route was very simple and direct, routing through only 4 airspaces. This resulted in 105 nautical miles, which implied about an hour's flight for us. Weather. No significant weather was forecasted for the outbound or the return flights 2 days later. Early morning possibility of mist or low clouds was forecasted along the route and at Kloppenheim on our outbound journey. We planned on an estimated time of arrival at around 10 o'clock, which was also influenced by flying directly into the early morning sun. We forecasted wind still favoured landing on the preferable uphill runway 27 at Kloppenheim. The forecasted wind direction for our return journey was favourable for the downhill takeoff if we would leave a little later. Getting there. On the morning of our departure, we were greeted by a clear, cloudless sky, as forecasted. Our favourite airplane Whiskey Mike Mike just returned from a long MPI the previous day and was ready for us at Wonderboom Airport with full fuel tanks. We took off at 9:15 from runway 29er.
Cleared for takeoff, climb to 5,000, report over Petro Port, Whiskey Mike Mike. Traffic specials east, Sling, Whiskey Mike Mike, just outbound from the Wonderboom CTR, 3 nautical miles out from Kalina Dam at 6,300 feet, we'll be climbing to 6,500 feet, Whiskey Mike Mike.
Deon and Mari took off about half an hour later from Springs. Both airplanes had stable flights over some scattered mist patches. We flew on flight level 075 in the Johannesburg North Information Space, while Deon decided to stay low level for a short remaining distance outside the special rules area. There is no spectacular scenery on this short route and very few towns. The Sling arrived first at Kloppenheim. The runway was very distinguishable from the air from quite far out. We first did an inspection flyby of the runway as part of our unmanned joining procedure.
Kloppenheim traffic, Sling Whiskey Mike Mike, coming for inspection run from the 27 side, Whiskey Mike Mike.
Ry nog op die runway hoor.
Ek sien so. Kloppenheim traffic, Sling Whiskey Mike Mike will be joining on a left-hand downwind for 27, Whiskey Mike Mike. Kloppenheim traffic, Whiskey Mike, final 27, full stop.
Due to the lower lying surrounding area, I had to do a powered landing, but with a steep uphill, I still slightly misjudged the final flare out, resulting in a slightly harder landing than usual. The Cherokee was 40 nautical miles out when we switched off in the parking area. Deon also did an inspection run to a certain lay of the land and the runway. We had a much better final approach and touchdown position. Review of the runway. The 0927 runway is 900 meters long by 15 meters wide at a high altitude of 6,051 feet on a plateau. The surface was still quite rough when we landed, but Stewart indicated that they are still going to smooth that out. It's almost a one-way in runway with a long, steep 27 uphill, but it is possible to also land from the shorter, shallower 09er uphill with favourable winds. Runway 09er is definitely much more favourable for the takeoff, even with its initial uphill. The smallish parking area is well situated for the runway topology on the northern side at the 09 threshold. The new windsock should be positioned just south of the runway, almost in the centre of the runway. The runway was well marked with white stones. After securing our airplanes, Stewart and the on-site chef, James Taylor, drove the two pilots back to the lodge. One of the timeshare owners, Suzette, drove the ladies back to the lodge with her car. The third car next to the runway was a casualty of the previous day hard work to get the runway ready for our arrival. Being there. After booking in, we had an enjoyable lunch on the outside veranda of the Triple Twigs on-site restaurant. We then took a leisurely stroll to our suites, where our luggage was already dropped off by James. Later, after exploring the lodge site and facilities, we had enjoyable pre-dinner drinks in the bar and a delicious, well-prepared dinner inside the restaurant. After a good night's rest in excellent beds with good linen, we had a delicious breakfast in the closed veranda of the restaurant. Later we took a 6-kilometer hike on some of the game viewing trails, back to the airplanes for a runway inspection and repair of the newly made animal burrows.
Runway inspection at Kloppenheim.
We saw some interesting blow wildebeest and blessbok displays. After another delicious dinner and another good night's sleep, we awoke to clear skies as forecasted. After a relaxed, scrumptious breakfast, we had a late book out and James took us back to our planes. A review of the lodge. 3 basic different accommodation types are available. Our lakeside suite number 111 and 112 were well furnished and well laid out with in-suite bathrooms, king-size beds, with good linen, a small lounge area, dressing area, drink station and fireplace. We received a complimentary bottle of wine and some fruit on our arrival. There are lots of outdoor activity facilities such as children playground, putt-putt, swimming pool, jacuzzi, trout fishing, walking trails, labyrinth, mountain bikes to hire with trails, horse riding, game drives, etc. There are also a number of indoor facilities such as a well-equipped spa, conference rooms, library, lounge, bar, pool table, table tennis, etc. We had excellent meals and service from Chef James and his staff. We have to congratulate and thank General Manager Stuart Dunbar and his staff for their commitment to get the runway ready for us and for the excellent service from all the staff, from our initial booking to the final invoices and the video footage. We thank them for the footage as well. We can highly recommend a stay at Kloppenheim and we'll definitely be back ourselves. And getting back. After our runway spot check, we did our pre-flight checks. We also had some staff spectators this time. The Piper took off first at 12:06, downwheel on the runway 09 and did a flyby. We took off about 15 minutes later, also downhill into the wind as forecasted. Thank you Stuart, James and all your staff for upgrading the runway and excellent service. As usual for this time of day, we had a waltzing Matilda flight back, even at flight level 085. We were cleared for Wonderboom CTR over at Cullinan Dam. We first had to do a descending orbit over at Rudderplaat Dam before we could join the circuit. This time below normal altitude on the left hand downwind for runway 11 as airplane number 4. This time an overcompensated flare out caused a slightly too high stall, resulting in another slightly harder landing than usual. Thank you Deon and Mari for joining us for an enjoyable weekend. Thank you Father God for the privilege of flying and beautiful weather.